All right, hello everyone. I am Dr. Christina Nixon. We will get started with our webinar this morning on what you need to know about research promotion. All right. Okay, so millions of research papers are published every year, but just publishing your work isn't enough in today's society. There are nearly 3 million papers published in 2017 alone. And according to an International Association of Publishers, the STM report from 2018, the number of peer-reviewed journals is steadily increasing at about a rate of 3.5%. And this has actually been steady for the past 300 years. This report also states that the average number of articles published each year is increasing at around 3%. That's a lot of papers. LPfizer's latest international comparative performance of the UK research base, a report that came out in 2016, estimates that there's more than 6 million full-time researchers in 2014 alone. So you can imagine that that rate now in 2019, that number is significantly higher, especially since the global researchers are estimated to be increasing at around 4% a year. So that means the field is full of researchers, and you need to make sure that you're standing out and that your research is being seen. Particularly since from the initial idea that you conceived for your research study and going through all of the hard work of getting this data and making sure that it's accurate and controlled well and that it's reproducible, and then finally pulling it all together into a publication in order to get, and then getting it into a high-ranking journal. This was a lot of work. You took a very difficult path and put a lot of effort into having this nice product. So it's really critical for you to promote your study effectively so that it stands out when there are millions of other researchers. Active promotion will help your study, your research, reach all of the scientists in the world. You'll have a larger impact on global research and give you an opportunity to network. So what are the advantages to promoting your research? Some of these advantages include just increasing your visibility in the research field, boosting citations and readership, also increases something called your H-index, which we'll discuss later. It also facilitates your ability to identify appropriate content online. So by promoting your research, you allow others to find it. And if they're promoting their research, it makes it easier for you to find theirs. Thereby, this increases collaborations and funding opportunities. It also increases your opportunity for feedback from senior fellows and peers in your field, as well as offering an altruistic benefit by assisting early stage researchers, particularly PhD students, because you've created more awareness for your cutting edge research. But there are some things that you need to remember as you begin to promote your research. Questions to ask yourself when you're thinking about how to go about this. What is the global impact, the global implication of your research? How new is your research? How novel are the findings? Is the topic of the research trending? Is it something people are talking about already? And how will your research impact the average person? So one way to do this is to use social media to promote your research. You can use social media platforms that I'm sure many of you have heard of, like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Twitter particularly has a very large research community, which we'll talk about later on as well. Research forums like Mendeley, ResearchGate, and academia.edu are also places where papers can be made for open discussion. And there's professional forums like LinkedIn that also help researchers to promote their research. You can also maintain your own website or your own blog to discuss your work. Interestingly enough, 71% of online audiences use Facebook. It provides a channel for you to showcase your research to others outside of research in your particular field specialty. So you can reach a much broader audience using Facebook. You can use your personal account page, which many of you probably have, or you can create another page that's specific for promoting your research, giving you a little separation between your work and your private life. One of the keys for maintaining your readership in anything, particularly in Facebook, is to make regular updates so that your readers have something new to look at and they'll keep coming back to see more. You can also use Facebook groups, which are another great resource for discussing similar interests and can be beneficial in promoting your research. So we mentioned Twitter a slide back or two, but it is a very interesting tool in this day and age for research promotion. So according to a study in PLOS, tweets by researchers generally focus on either a single issue, so one specific topic, or they're managed by like a social media account manager, and there are tweets that are posted on different research, but by the same organization. And there's also more broader tweeting where you have different groups of people all putting out little sound bites of information about the same topic, right? So you can either tweet about a single issue, you could have a research forum that tweets about all sorts of different types of research, or you could have a larger group that's all talking about one focused topic. Hashtags, where you put the hashtag or the pound sign in front of a series of words, helps you to optimize your discoverability. People can use that little bit of information with the hashtag symbol in order to search on Twitter for things that they're interested in learning more about. You can also follow relevant academic groups in Twitter, and it will keep you updated on new things that they're doing. So YouTube was another social media forum that we discussed, and it is the third most popular website in the world. And it's only to be outdone by Google. It is the most popular search engine. And the interesting thing about YouTube is that you post videos, which often have more of an impact than just the written word because of their visually appealing nature. Humans are visual creatures. We like to see things. You can maintain a channel on YouTube so that you can actively promote your research, much like a Facebook page where you would put little bits of information, or populating your channel with short videos to describe different parts of your research or the topic that you want to discuss. And in order to make sure that these videos are found, and really anything when you're doing things online, is to make sure that you consider something called search engine optimization, in which the title and the description that you use to identify your video or your tweet or your topic really uses primary and secondary keywords, so that when people are searching for them, your video will come up. And we've posted an example here that you can click on, and this is a video from Enago talking more about research promotion. How can you use forums to promote your research? Well, there are a lot of research-specific forums in today's very internet-savvy world. You can use popular ones that have huge libraries of research papers, and it makes this for easy reference and easy ways to find things. These forums also help in networking within a global research community because you are in contact with more people inside of your field. You can also join open discussions on any of the papers. So there's places to leave comments and have discussions about different aspects of these manuscripts, or to further engage other researchers in your field. And we've mentioned some of these already: Mendeley and Academia. There's also Loop, which we'll talk about more. And those are mentioned here again, as well as ResearchGate with links. Should you be interested, you can click on those and learn more about those sites. But Mendeley provides personalized recommendations. So as you start to update your account on Mendeley, it will start to give you recommendations to make things easier for you to find topics that you're interested in. Academia.edu lets other researchers and academics monitor the analytics to determine how their promotion is impacting their research and track the research of academics that they're interested in following and learning more about. Another way to have research promotion is a little bit more traditional, which would be in conferences and seminars. And they're quite helpful, so it's more of a networking type experience. So attending and presenting at scientific conferences and seminars is really vital, and I'm sure many of you know this already, that when you go to a conference, you're going to gain knowledge about new developments because you're gathering with a body of people who are all interested in your topic, your area of research, and they're going to come to discuss their new developments. You're also going to reach a wider audience, particularly if you're going to a conference that isn't very topic focused, but maybe a broader subject focus. So for instance, instead of going to just a vaccine conference, perhaps you're going to a cellular biology and immunology conference. So you're going to see a much wider audience there. It also serves as a platform to receive peer feedback on your research, particularly if you've gone to the extra effort to submit an abstract so that you can present either an oral presentation or a poster. You're really going to get a lot of peer feedback, and you can engage more with researchers in your field. And this also provides an excellent opportunity to network, particularly if those conferences are offering networking events, coffee, and little events at different restaurant functions. Those are things to look out for at conferences that will help you network. The other thing that can be important is to recognize that there are often journalists at the conference who are going to be there to see what the new scientific developments are, so that they can let the general public know about what advances are being made in various topics, particularly if topics being discussed at your conference are trending and are popular with the general public. So, you want to pay attention if a journalist is taking notice of your research, because they may cover it in their articles and their writing. Be very careful. There are a lot of predatory conferences, and this sort of goes for all aspects of anything in promotion of your research. Be careful of predatory organizations. So check a list of known predatory conferences. You can find these using search engines like Google. You can also make sure that the organizers of a conference or the seminar are professional societies or other well-established organizations. So make sure other people have heard about them, that they have when you go to their website, they have legitimate contact information. So you want to check out their contact details. Note the time taken by the conference for accepting abstracts. It should be reasonable. It should be something that seems within norm. There should also be a geographic variety in terms of the review board. So, is the conference accepting people from a wide area? Are they really covering, are these names that they have on their review board, do you know them from people in your field? And do the conference organizers have any academic information presented about themselves? So can you find other links suggesting that the organizers are a legitimate conference organizers? So another way to promote your research is through online repositories. So I don't know if anyone would typically think about this as a way to promote your research, but it really is a valuable tool to use. So these online repositories kind of take a wide range of forms, and they can be a collection of documents. They might be a collection of raw data or scholarly articles. They can collect associated analysis. Maybe it's only a place to put your control data, things that you normally would think of as supplemental data in a manuscript. Those types of things can also be found in online repositories. You can find general science repositories like Figshare, Dryad Digital Repository that can be used as a supplement to your primary data. Universities, especially the major universities, have their own repositories to house research being done in their universities and in their institutions. So you can often get access or request access to those university repositories to see things that those researchers have done in the past. Many governments also have their own specific repositories. Like the UK has a research repository for all sorts of different topics. Data repositories, as opposed to a place for articles, also collects and manages and stores sets of data for analysis, sharing, and reporting. You think of these as if you publish your paper and you publish a figure or a graph on some part of your data. You may have had a very large data set that had a large study population or a large sample set, and you've reported on one key finding. Well, that data set is probably much larger than what you reported on in your original manuscript, and you can consider making that research more accessible. This will help you to generate collaborations. Others can find your data and maybe see new research questions that could come out of your data. In addition, it also offers a way for you to be able to go in and mine other researchers' data for questions that you have interest in, and then generate collaborations from that end. There are also discipline-based repositories, and there are many, many of these discipline-based repositories that are available for researchers. We've listed two here. One is the SOC-AR, which is a pre-publication versions of social science papers, or SSRN, which is extra scholarly material about business studies and art markets in particular. But every discipline and field generally has their own specific repository, and that's to use search engines to find those repositories, or talk to your colleagues about what repositories they're putting their data in. One thing that's really helpful about repositories is that they provide a source for you to meet requirements of funding agencies. Many funding agencies now want their work to be more meaningful than just the paper that you published. So these funding agencies are requiring that you provide your data in an open access, or your articles in an open access form. So these open access repositories not only help you fulfill that requirement, they're also available online. They're free of charge and without restrictions. So they're more freely accessible and will help you not only meet that requirement by your funding agency, but will also allow you to generate more collaborations. Publishing in these repositories increases the impact and reach of your research because it's more universally accessible to all potential readers, despite their funding ability, because they have no paywall or no subscription service that they need to tap into. Okay, so just remember, when you're uploading your data or your manuscripts into these repositories, make sure it's a final draft version. You want to put your best foot forward even in a repository. Make sure that your latest research publications are connected to the data that you've put in, or linked in some way so that the whole set can be found. The other thing you want to make sure is that you then consider uploading your final draft version to an open access, subject specific or discipline specific repository if applicable. So this means you want to make sure that your data sets have been cleaned and that they're easy to use. Okay, so we talked specifically about promoting your research and where to put your findings, and how to get your studies seen. But another aspect of this is also making sure that you, as a researcher, are known. So this means that you need to create a research profile, and there are several platforms now that you can do that on. Your research profile really plays an important role advancing your research career. You can think of it as like an online CV or a resume almost. So LinkedIn is a really important platform that highlights your professional accomplishments and shows your area of expertise. You can link articles, scientific studies, research studies, as well as news articles and things that you have written. You can link them to your LinkedIn profile, as well as a department profile if your university or your department has a LinkedIn profile. It also offers a way for you to connect with others. Loop is a new trending open network platform for researchers, and it helps you showcase your studies and actually helps you connect them with journals like Nature, Science, and other popular academic websites. So you can make your profile on Loop and then link it to your paper. Another helpful platform is Google Scholar. So you can, same sort of thing, you can make a profile there and link your citations to publications. And these publications will appear in Google searches because they've been linked to your Google Scholar profile after the name of the author. You can also make your profile public using the drop-down menu. If you look on the main profile page and ensure your name appears in the search results of your papers, this will really help increase who can see your research in a Google search. The profile also will help you also helps you network and more easily find things because you can use the profile to save your searches, and you can also use it to set alerts. So if there are topics that you're particularly interested in, you could save the search or set an alert so when new things are added, you will get a notification that there's new information for you to see. So there's also something called an Open Researcher and Contributor ID. And if you don't have one yet, you really should get one. A lot of manuscripts and journals, when you're publishing your manuscript, will require you to have this because it provides a digital identifier that distinguishes you from everyone else, particularly if you have a very common last name or even a common first name. Your ORCID will help you, gives you an additional digital piece of information that attaches to your name to help people find your work and not the work of others. So you want to make sure that your ORCID record has all of the required professional information. You want to make sure that it's accurate, that it's you who it's linking to. And you can link your ORCID to other things like Scopus, Researcher ID, or LinkedIn. And as I said just minutes ago, your manuscript submission, application grants, and a lot of research workflows, you can actually add your ORCID so that it will help people find you and know that it's your research. You get credit for it. Okay, so one thing we mentioned earlier was something called an H-index. There's nothing really direct that you can do to improve your H-index. You can't actually go in and manipulate your H-index, but it measures your numbers of papers that you've published and the number of citations that those papers have received, and thereby calculates how you have impacted your field based on those two metrics. So having an accurate count of the number of articles published by you and the number of citations it received is very critical and important, and the ORCID will facilitate this so you get credit for your work. But what you can do to influence your H-index is by actively promoting your research, because if you're actively promoting it and more people are finding it, the likelihood of you getting a citation is going to increase. People seeing your papers is going to increase, and then referencing it in their manuscripts is going to increase. And so your H-index can therefore also increase in that way. All right, so what's next? You've promoted your research. Now what do you do? To find out the effect on the discoverability and the reach after you've done all these things, you've promoted your research, you've put your manuscripts and your data into open repositories, you've gone to conferences, and you've made your LinkedIn profile, and you've checked your ORCID. So now what do? You want to make sure that the citations to your research can be tracked by setting alerts on Google Scholar. We talked about where you can have a search set up. You could have an alert for your work. You can do this on other sites as well, like the Web of Science, Scopus, or SciVal. You can use article level matrix or alternative matrix to understand how their journal articles are being used in academia. And you can also track downloads and page views, etc., to get another handle on what's happening. Your H-index will also let you know if you have effectively promoted your research. Publishers and publishing companies use metrics like Allometrics and Plum Analytics to measure the performance of their research articles. And sometimes many publications will actually let you know how you did if you were a highly viewed article that year, or if you received a lot of citations in that year. You get a little email from many of the publishing companies. Besides the published article, there's also something called PlumX that will help you track preprints, presentations, videos, book chapters, other ways that you're getting your research out other than manuscripts in scholarly journals. You can also use Google Analytics as a way to traffic websites, to track traffic coming to your website. So you set up a blog and you want to know how many people are actually reading it. Go to these other Enago Academy courses, so strategies for marketing your research paper, or how to present at international conferences. And you can learn more about the importance of promoting your research, how this benefits universities, researchers, and publishers, how to increase your visibility, more about the importance of your ORCID, and then things like principles behind writing a really good abstract for your conference so they get selected, and how to design your slideshows. Then I will say thank you for attending and listening and hearing these tips on promoting your research.